Hello and welcome to another episode of the Miami Hal Real Estate Show. Today we've got a very special guest because he's a little bit real estate, but a lot about taste and just making a good time around mealtime. This is Patrick Sheehy from Floyd BBQ. Welcome to the show.
Guten Tag, Hal.
It's been like 2 years.
Sprechen Sie Dutch?
No, I don't. We're doing this in English today.
I watched the Three Stooges. That's right.
There you go. There you go.
Glad to be here, man. Finally. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a storied history, and that's what I want our audience to listen to. And there's some lessons along the way that I'd like to kind of sprinkle in there.
Sure.
Let's start off with what is Floyd BBQ, and we'll work our way through a timeline and really educate people.
Floyd was pretty much hatched out of a collegiate venture that I made into college at the time. Wow. I didn't make it all the way through, but it was one of those things that I said, I've always been into this stuff. My dad had me grilling for his buddy poker games and stuff and hanging out and doing that cool stuff. So I kind of learned burgers and did different things and did fun things like that. So it was gradually grew up and went into the collegiate side of it. And I was kind of locked into a house off of High Street in Columbus, Ohio, at Ohio State. And it's, 14 inches of snow, as you know, from north. And I'm not subjugated to that. I don't understand that stuff. I was out there messing around the grill, trying to cook stuff for, a bunch of my starving buddies in the house. And we were playing Dark Side of the Moon. And, my buddy ran down and goes, "Hey, man, that's Floyd." And I go, No, that's Floyd. And he goes, No, you're Floyd. And I was making pork chops. So that's where kind of the hatch name
I
came
don't think
from.
I ever had the origin story of the name.
Yeah, that was the actual origin. So
all right.
You're the only one that got that story. So
that's good. Yeah. It's exclusive right here on the Miami Hal Real Estate Show.
Exactly.
But I met up with you probably 10 years ago now, maybe?
Oh, yeah. It's been that long.
You were hosting your truck at one of the music festivals that I was involved in.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there was a very long line at your place.
You saw me at the farmers markets and stuff too on the side.
Yes, you did.
I was doing back then.
So you were born out of running trucks in the area, correct?
Well, basically, I was born out. I pretty much grew everything out of. Let's just put it this way: I made a hobby into a vocation. So it became one of those things that I said, okay, I really enjoy this. Previous to my barbecue venture, I was an IT guy for 20-something years, worked for BP's Oil Spill Fund, worked for Havaya, Lucent, Cisco. I was a voice encryption specialist, so I did all that stuff. So it's kind of analytical in the same sense, working barbecue. It's very structured and rigid, and you have to do it right to get the right execution and the right performance out of it. So I kind of grew into that coming out of the IT and going into the other side, but I always just kind of competed on the side, with chili competitions, with barbecue competitions on the amateur side, like Cutler Bay's Chili Cook-Off, which is coming up next Saturday, I believe. Those are some of the ground floor things that I started off and had a pretty catchy name and a catchy logo. And good food, has to back it up. Otherwise, gimmicks and marketing ain't going to work unless you back it up. So I think, I believe I saw you at the music fest that you were putting on. And I think you fell in love with me when you had my barbecue.
It's not about you. It's about the barbecue. You are a personality. There's no question.
No.
But it is the barbecue that makes you come back.
More than anything.
That is true. And we're going to get to that.
Oh, God.
So I met you and you had a truck and we did a story on you that went along with the music festival. You got some additional notoriety, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And then something started to percolate where that truck wasn't going to roll anymore.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you about the experience, however you see it,
right.
That happened to you in Palmetto Bay, because that's when a lot more people got to know you.
That was, and I'm glad you asked that, because now I'm finally on a show or somewhere that I can kind of vocalize what happened. And it really wasn't in a bad way. It was more of a business decision of certain things. We opened this restaurant, the one that we had on 168th and O'Cutler by the Deering Estate, and we operated for 3 years or whatever. We spent quite a bit of money, $500,000 on building this thing out. And as you know, it had cargo containers, and we were like the first ones to do all this kind of cool stuff. It was a very family-oriented place. You know, it was a place where I used to call it, it was a kindergarten with a bar. You know, so you could come and have fun with your kids.
That's pretty apt. I think that's right.
It's like kind of like going to game time, but you know, you have a beer, but your kid's playing a game. So, you know, it was one of those things that the demographic my partner and I worked on were, you know, we wanted to interact and bring these people that are of this demographic, families, 2 kids, a dog, cars, 2 jobs, you know, a nice house, and they just wanted to stay in the area and do what we did. Plus, we wanted to do allegiance to the places that were there prior to where we were. We, you know, on that location since 1950, I think, was Snowden's bar. And it was there. It had been there since the Deering estate, probably before that. It's a flop house, card house, you know, whatever you wanted to call it, while they were building the Deering. So it's got a lot of historical, you know, premise to it. So after that came OCI. So we did due diligence to keep it that kind of way. And what it was that broke down to the whole thing is it was and you know me, I'll call it like it is, but it came down to that we were held under an agreement that we had to renew every single year, and it had to be up to Palmetto Bay's council and their mayor and everyone else on the board, and everybody sitting around our little area that basically wanted to see what we were doing. They thought, first of all, it was some kind of circus that we were opening up with no permits, and we were just doing it on the side. And that wasn't the case. We had to adhere to many rules. We had to adhere to landscaping and parking lots and DERM and EPA, and you name it, we had to deal with it. The Department of Alcohol. I can go on and on and on, but basically where that came from is we had to keep that agreement and that structure with them. They never, ever, Palmetto Bay, gave us a CO of completion. They always kept us on a TCO. So it basically came down to we were running proverbial carrot in front of the mule, and we were the mule. So yeah. I love the place. I grew born and raised there, but politics aside, it's not very friendly to startup businesses, and especially food trucks and other things like that.
And that's what I want to dig into a little bit more,
sure,
without getting into the dirt.
No, there's no dirt. I mean, really, it's all amicable.
Yeah, no, I'm
business
just saying,
decisions were made, and I don't hold any grudges. I keep rolling. I have no choice.
What I find interesting is that you're a barbecue guy, right? And you and your truck, that's what you know best. Sure. And then at the time you go, well, you know what? This is a great venture. You had a partner. You decide, I'm going to lease a space, because you didn't own that spot, right?
No, not at all. No.
So you lease a space, and all of a sudden, you're not a truck anymore. You're a restaurant.
Oh, yeah, that's where it came from. I mean, we started out as the food truck. It was a 72 Gersten lager, which is basically the same thing as a bookmobile. It used to be for us ex-gens and all the old people, the baby boomers. You know, they went to a bookmobile in the library that came around. So that's what we created it out of it. And like you said, it just blossomed into, you know, something.
Yeah, so you rolled this truck, which could still roll, onto this lot, but when you parked it for, I don't know what time officially, right?
Right.
You then started to get under the scrutiny of all these different departments, both federal and state.
Well, that was easy. That was a risk that I took.
Okay.
That I was allowed to ride on a cottage license, which is with the Department of Agriculture, which a lot of people do when they decided they want to open a cookie thing or candies or cakes, or you can sell at the farmer's market. As long as you're allowed to not have a commissary, or you're supposed to have a commissary. I believe that is the law now, which my commissary was my food truck, which was legal.
Yeah, makes sense.
But when you get to a level and you start to sell a lot and you have 100 people in line and you're working out of a 10 by 10 tent with one smoker, and there's, you know, you're selling barbecue for 4 hours and it may be 800 or 1,000 pounds, eventually what's going to happen, and this is what happens to food trucks, is they're going to get looked at by the health department, and rightly so, DPBR needs to stay safe. I agree with that 100%. So you can't just let everybody do whatever they want. But sometimes on the west side of Dixie Highway, everybody gets to do what they want. and keep it under wraps, but keep it good and nobody bothers them. But that's a different story.
As soon as you get into an incorporated area,
Municipalities.
Palmetto Bay,
Yes.
Pinecrest, Cutler
Yes.
Bay,
Yes.
things are more scrutinized.
Go down the road, and I'm a big food truck advocate because I have a lot of food truck friends and people that have these businesses. You tell me how many food trucks do you see on the east side of the highway literally from South Miami all the way to Cutler Bay? You might see me, but I'm on the west side of the highway.
Now you are.
Yes. I have
There
no
were a couple
choice.
times you snuck across to the east side,
that
right?
was covert.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I'm
Yeah.
covert out.
So not only did you have a challenge in the TCO, temporary certificate of occupancy, throughout your reign in Palmetto Bay with a nice dome, and you really created, as you said, a family-friendly environment. There were long lines. You served an insane amount of meat.
We did, when we were cranking towards the middle and the end. Remember, we built all this stuff during COVID. Every single restaurant was closed down during COVID, pretty much. And they tried to suppress us, meaning they, not the Palmetto Bay, but CDC, Department of Health. They didn't want anything. And we finally explained to them with some help of some attorneys that we're outside and you really can't do anything. And that's basically where that was left off. So that was a time that we were building a restaurant, which I handed to my partner for even sticking with me and going through it and everything and pushing through that. That was a difficult thing. A lot of restaurants died. And they're still dying because of that. And that's a huge, huge factor, to me.
That was the next thing I wanted to talk about. You actually built and had the Palmetto Bay location running prior to COVID.
Yes.
But then COVID hit.
Well, prior to that, really, if I can interject, prior to that, we opened and we were open, but they wouldn't let us technically open. So what we did is we opened to go, just like Outback was doing. You could drive by and do all that. We'd have 150 cars in line, and now code compliance is getting them mad at me, and the cops are there, police are there, going, "Hey, well, you got too many cars. You're blocking Oak Cutler."
Yeah.
I'm okay. Well, what do I do? And
I'm sorry, I'm popular.
Every it seems that it doesn't. Yeah. It's not a easy navigation for any new business owner in any of these municipalities. All they have to do is say, "Would you like to open a business in XXX municipality? Here's the way you do it." But none of them do that. So you basically are chasing off anything of substance and good, because for some reason I built my brand and I still get hired and I still produce and I still keep going because people like good stuff. And they don't mind waiting. And I proved that wrong, because in Miami, it's a tough town. You saw people, I would have people sitting in line when we were first started. Yeah. 100 long, and they were sweating in 95-degree weather. And then all of a sudden I found out Palmetto Bay is a BYOB municipality. Pretty much all of those areas are. So customers are allowed to bring in their own cocktails or their own drinks. So what happened was I found out, and I told these people this, and all of a sudden people are bringing in beer. And for, there's 2 or 3 guys there, and they bring 2 cases of beer. I'm like, God, you guys are going to drink a lot. They're like, no, we're going to share it with the community in the neighborhood. You're like, hey. And it was a fun type of thing. It was just a community type of thing built that we needed to put there, and I thought it was fun. And I never, Hal, and you know it, and you see me all the time with people buying from me on the truck and catering, never had one person go, "Oh, I hated that place. It was terrible." Right. I may get people complaining because they were in line for an hour, but then once I fed them in and say, "You want to do VIP?" And I told Hal this too. You just go open a tab at the bar and sit over there, and they'll bring the food to you.
That's the little secret. Again, if you're watching the show,
if I open another restaurant, but that's a different thing.
All right. So COVID, obviously, tough on the entire industry, tough on all of us. Yeah. And you make it through, but ultimately, Palmetto Bay closes down. Yeah. So tell me, what does it feel like, and what are you thinking at the time? Are you going right back to the truck? Are you looking for another location? What was going through your head, and why? Because I think that's important for people to understand. You are definitely outspoken. Yeah. So I'd like to hear your thoughts about how to do business in this area of South Florida.
When you're down at the bottom. Yeah. Well, remember, I started at the bottom. I rode it to the top. God forbid, knock on wood, I ever drop dead. At least I'm known for some damn good barbecue. You know what I mean? And that's one thing. And I always help people, and I always tell them, you know, I'll give you the wood, I'll give you the heat recipe, I'll give you everything, I'll give you my smoker, but it ain't gonna come out the same way I do it. And they finally acknowledge that and they realize that. But really, what it came down to is it could have kept going, but I didn't want to fight the battle anymore. And it was a losing battle because eventually the rug was going to be pulled out from under us. And I'm not spending another $100,000, you know, and renewing a 5-year lease with our landlord, or 3 years or whatever it was. And he wanted us there, but it's just one of those blockades. So where you're asking is a really good question that nobody's ever really asked me that. I felt
that's why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
$0.
I felt like bleep. Okay? I just did it for you, all right? I bleeped it out. I felt like bleep, 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 bleep. I'll tell you right now, because I felt that I had they're not customers, they're friends. Everybody that was in my place was a friend. If they needed anything, they could get it. You know, and it was just like that. And I wanted to make it like that. So it hit me in the heart really hard. So it took some time to pull myself out of that crap and say, you know what? And a lot of people smacking me around, and, you know, family, friends, you know, everybody just saying, look, man, wake up, you know, you get your crap together and do your stuff and do it right. And, you know, it took a couple months to say, well, what am I going to do? And, you know, it all comes down to how hard you want to push. How hard do you want to drive? I can go back to IT. I can go back there. I can sit on there and be a network guy.
And you know, it's interesting. We're doing this show finally.
Yeah. My fault to that. Right? I know you promised many times. I'm the one that screwed up. I'm sorry, Hal. I have to apologize.
But we're doing this right after New Year's.
Yeah.
And everybody's got their own resolutions right now, and their own things that they want to accomplish in 2024.
Right.
So maybe by listening to you a little bit, because you have been a survivor.
Yeah.
You're out there today.
Yeah.
Where you've very much could have just packed it in.
Oh man, I could, believe me, there's plenty of times I'm in the fetal position in the corner going, holy crap, I want to get out of here.
Sometimes we see that on Instagram and Facebook too.
But I got it. The thing about it really quick is I got to push that. Because I'm real. I'm not gonna give you a bag of garbage. What would you think? I give you some crappy barbecue? Because if I did, and I've screwed up before, but I make it right. But the thing about it is, you're gonna have to bleep this one out. I take no shit, and I don't want to. And
that's
the thing
one,
about
by
it
the
is,
way, to the producer.
Mean. I'm not mean. You know what I mean?
I understand.
You know.
So you come out of the funk that you were in after Palmetto Bay just wasn't the right path to continue on. And where do you end up? You're back in your truck.
Yeah.
What locations were you hitting?
Not even
at the
that.
time?
I wasn't even back in the truck. The everything was getting liquidated out of the restaurant. The containers, the dome, everything was being moved off. And I'm sitting on the sidelines watching all, pretty much my kid being torn apart and going, okay, well, I built this from the ground up. I can either hang up my hat and just quit, or I can figure this out. So what I did is I got rid of the equipment that I had. I put a little more money back into it, and I had a good friend of mine who's very close to me, and I had some friends that worked for Wild Fork, and they said they had a food truck that they never used, and it's brand new, and I made a deal with them, and I said, okay, I'm going to go through this. So I threw everything back into a food truck, and that's where I'm at now. And, I work with my family. I work with my brother. We're going to be at the baseball stadium doing barbecue over there
that's
and
great.
stuff. Yeah, it's going to be coming up in February. So, we got a lot of cool things going, but it was just one of those things that I said, I'm going here and I'm going to do this. So then it became, where do I go? Can't go to the east side of the highway. Got to go to the west side of the highway. So I'll be honest with you, where it all came together and where it came to fruition was I said, hey, you know what? I need to make marketing allegiances with a food guy like me with a product that marries the thing together. You're laughing. You know where I'm coming.
Of course, I know where the answer is.
So basically where it came from, I contacted all the medicinal marijuana dispensaries.
Yeah.
True Leaf, Cure Leaf. I'm all giving. They don't mind. I've been at every one of them. And the Sanctuary, which I'm on 124th in South Dixie every Wednesday to Sunday. So you get there about 3 o'clock, and we're out of there by 8. So it's quick. We unload everything, sell everything, start a new day. So I allied myself with these dispensaries, and it works out very well. It's kind of like, hey, you got one thing, you got another. But it's really funny because people just want to be where my product is and come get it and eat it.
They're hungry.
That's it, man.
They're hungry for the good stuff.
You got a good product, and people tell you you can't quit. You can't quit. You can't. I won't quit. I have people tell me, okay, quit. Go ahead. Go ahead, make $200,000 in IT. Sit there and twiddle your thumbs and watch 5 monitors, and or go out there and sweat bullets. And people go, well, you stay in good shape and you do this. Just because I work freaking 20 hours a day. I may be sitting at home for 4, but another 2 of those, I'm sitting there trying to manage this monster. And in an economic environment like this, it's very difficult. Very difficult,
You are at heart a barbecue chef. So what's the most favorite part of the day?
I would say, I don't mean to
please, no.
I'd say a pitmaster.
Okay.
I'm not a chef.
Okay,
A buddy of
pitmaster,
mine,
yeah.
like Jeremy Ford,
That's
who's
chef,
a stubborn
okay.
seed, Michelin-starred chef.
Yeah, that's a chef.
Who's a great guy. That's a chef.
All right. I'll misquote by me.
Guy.
Oh, you're a pit guy. What's your favorite part of the day? What makes you, get up and be excited about what you're about to do?
To be honest with you,
yeah,
it really is. It comes down to when I'm up, and a lot of times, if I'm not going into work, I'm still up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I can't sleep past that. It's just one of those biological internal clocks that sets you off when you're going like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the morning time when I can start to figure out the puzzle of the day, because that's what it is. I mean, I'm not discounting anybody that goes to a corporate job or does sales or does anything else, that they don't have many different pieces to the element. But this is just out of control. It's like if I just did a puzzle for 2,000 pieces the night before and I got halfway through and they just shook the whole thing up again, go start it again. You need to finish it. There is no, I'll get back to it tomorrow.
I think a lot of people don't truly understand the process that happens before you hand something to them over the counter, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. You
have told me over and over again, the barbecue is about the smoke and how long you smoke.
Yeah, low and slow.
Low and slow.
Yeah.
We're talking 8 hours?
Oh,
8 hours
longer
plus?
than that. Well, that's just my ribs will go anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 hours. The briskets and the butts, we run on a Southern Pride, to me, which is the best pit around. I have a lot of buddies of mine that have great barbecue restaurants that I can throw in there too, like Carl at Hate Mondays and Apocalypse. There's some great guys that have come out of the groundwork, and we're all buddies and we know this stuff. They have different styles than I do. But it all comes from having the equipment, the right equipment, and knowing how to use the equipment. I tell people all the time, they ask me, how did you get to that level? I said, really comes down to 3 things. And they go, what? I go, it's the quality of your rubs, your spices, the smoker, the meats, okay? Once you get that and you've got everything in there, that's the first one. Then the second one is being consistent. Because if you ate my ribs and you came back 3 months later, they better be as good as they were 3 months ago. Once you get those 2 elements, you get to the quantity. Then you can start jacking it up. But I've tried every corner cut, everything you could possibly do. You have to put the time in. So
I think one of the things I learned, and you said, yeah, you're absolutely right, is I like small batch.
Oh yeah.
So your barbecue, when I first met you,
you're a big beer guy. I'm a beer guy. Yeah. We like those tighter groove beers that are locally produced, that have got a lot of nice flavor to them.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I'm a Bud Light guy. I'm a Post Malone beer guy. I love Post Malone. But I'm telling you, I love that stuff. But when you're working or whatever, but that kind of beer that we taste just complements barbecue to the ultimate.
Yeah. But what I was going to say is, at the very beginning when I met you at the truck, killer barbecue.
Right.
Then you got to Palmetto Bay. Still very good barbecue, but as you got to that 1,000 pound a day,
it was 5,000 a week in 4 days,
right? And so when you got to that, it's hard to keep the consistency. and some of the juiciness that you know you can do when
Sure.
you're really paying attention to the smaller
Believe me,
batch.
there were things
right?
that I would go in there and I would see that there, you know, and I had at that time we had, you know, 18 employees. We had people that were cooking all night long. Never, we don't walk away from that
Right.
place. There's 3 guys there all night
checking,
long.
keep checking,
keep
load the wood.
rotating, load the wood, load the, you know, you're the carousel, you're the rotisserie. So it's basically, it's so laborious and it's so intense that the fear of screwing up is ungodly. It's like, oh my God. It's like we were talking about The Conjuring. It's like, I'm going to meet the nun coming down there from barbecue going, where's my barbecue? You know?
But you go through that process, and what's nice, at least to the customer like me,
Yeah.
is that we're back to small batch.
Right.
We're back to it being Pat,
Yeah.
doing what he needs to do the right way,
Yep.
and it shows.
Yeah. Well, no, I appreciate
So-
that because, you know, you told me that when you first got the truck stuff, and you're like, man, this is the bomb. And I'm like, it wasn't always, you know, it always was the bomb, but it takes it up another level.
Yeah.
You know, like these guys at Biscayne or Lincoln's Beard, or I can go on and on, you know. I mean, even I'm proud of the little joints that open up, you know, down south, like Maxwell's and these cool little niche places. Those are the places you want there. You know, I don't want another franchise place. Everybody's got them. You know, the uniqueness of being able to have something unique to that area of town,
Yeah.
and somebody that lives there to build it is incredible.
So Wednesday through Sunday,
Mhm.
people can come get your barbecue.
Yes, sir.
Some people out there in the audience, they don't know what that is yet. So why don't you do a little, tell us what the menu is.
Here's how it works.
Tell us what they
it's
need to
easy.
know
It's
to
easy.
come out and see you.
If you don't know me, just call Hal. I'll give you his home number. He can give you and fill you in and take his order.
Yes.
No, it's basically the simple stuff: brisket, pulled pork, ribs, sausage, chicken. We do the best beef ribs in town. I don't know anybody else that does these monster beef ribs. We have different things on the menu sometimes. We'll do dolphin, different meats, and then our sides. We have amazing blue cheese coleslaw. We've got a smoked mac and cheese that we do. We do a 3-bean brisket taco. But pretty much every week, Wednesday to Sunday, about 3 p.m. till about 8 or so.
When the meat runs out, as you
When the
say.
meat runs out. I never say
Close
a
it
delay.
down.
They go, when's it gone? I go, when the meat's gone, it's gone. So that's the whole philosophy of us. We run out of everything every day. So we got to make it again. Because there's no need to carry anything over. If anything does get carried over, it ends up in my chili or my beans.
You've got some special sauces too that
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we should talk about briefly.
Yeah, man. My boy, Tommy Stitt, he's the man at Middle Finger Hot Sauces. You'll like that.
Goes along with what you do.
It goes along with Pig Floyd. There's some nice stickers of Middle Finger on the back of the truck. You'll notify those in traffic. But he does all of our barbecue sauces.
Okay.
He does Comfortably Numb, Wish You Were Here. Money's the Carolina
I
sauce.
hear a theme somewhere.
Yes, there is. Just
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
there. And they're going to be available. They're bottled and everything. And we're working on getting a little distribution stuff going. But Tom works with me in the truck. And you got the sauce boss working on the sauce. And he's an excellent chef. And I'm the pick guy. And it kind of marries itself.
You mentioned all the great food that you serve up. What makes you the best? I want to hear from your point of view. What makes you better than anybody else down here?
My smoked picanha.
Okay.
Nah, man, I don't think anybody makes me better than anybody else. Barbecue's not like that. You know what I mean? We're all barbecue brothers, smoke brothers. So we always got to pull it together and pump people up. So anybody wants to ask me about questions and things like that, I got to do it. So, but I'm not going to give you any of my recipes. That's it.
No. Okay.
Maybe
Well,
you, Hal, if you buy me a 6-pack.
I always do.
How you know?
Okay. So to wrap things up,
Yes, sir.
how do they get in touch with Pig Floyd Barbecue and know what you're doing and where you're going to be? Because I know you got lots of social
You
media.
can call us on the phone. You'll get the voicemail as usual.
What's the number?
305-298-7572.
There you go.
Best way to do it really is on IG at the Pig Floyd Barbecue, Facebook, Pig Floyd Barbecue.
Drop the V on
yeah,
the Facebook. Okay.
Yep. And then at you drop the V on the on the Facebook side. But I got WhatsApp connected in there. You can do pre-orders for this weekend for the Finns games, and get us on social media. That's where we pump right away and respond immediately.
All right. Got 5 seconds. There's also catering, and he does a lot of it.
Yeah, we do it.
Till next time, have a great week in real estate.
Thank you.